Hey gang, welcome back to Inverted Pursuits Laboratory. This week we're actually taking a look at a add-on I'm building as part of two rocket builds I've got going on here. So this is my father-in-law's, I guess I'd argue this is a buddy build. This is my father-in-law's Phoenix. I don't remember honestly. And this is my wife and I's AIM. Both are PLM lock kits, and we've been building them in tandem to conserve on our epoxy usage. Obviously there is a considerable size difference between these two rockets. His will be for his level 1, ours is just for fun. But both came with these really cool plastic nose cones, 4-inch plastic nose cones, and they're great. His came with the bottom cut off while ours still had the bottom attached. So I realized that there was an opportunity here. So they'd cut it off for the intention of using one of their like nose cone weight system kits. But I've also built some nose cone system kits. So I 3D printed a sleeve that fits inside of his nose cone and then allows for this custom sled to slide in here and lock in. It gives him a spot down on the bottom to attach shot cord, and we can have wires running through. We can weight this very easily. We can build other things that will go in here and weight. I'm going to make the system removable for the two nose cones, so I'm actually going to go ahead and cut the bottom off of this nose cone and mount another one of these in here. This is not glued in yet. I don't know if I plan to glue it in. I want to see if I can figure out how to screw it in rather than glue it in. I have already learned that because of adding the ring here, or adding the threaded part on the inside, especially on my father-in-law's rocket, it makes the nose cone fit really tight. So which means we'll need to sand down the rings on here a little bit to make them less pronounced, so that we get a better fit that will work for what we're trying to do. But so we're ended up adding about 1/2 inch to the end of the nose cone, shoulder, all the way around. But what we're going to do today is not mess with this, but actually mess with the nose cone meant for my wife and I's rocket. And so we're going to start with cutting the bottom off. I've already got the parts printing for a whole other nose cone system, and we're going to go through the entire process of cutting this off, mounting it in there. I want to try drilling into this to like screw it in. If that doesn't work, we'll glue it in, but we're going to go ahead and mess around with that whole system and see how it all works in the end. Alright, and with that we have the bottom off of our nose cone. So what we're now going to do is come in and make sure we clean up these inside edges so we don't have any weird lips sitting around. So we'll grab a quick deburring tool. Alright, if you've never used a deburring tool or deburring whip, this is what it looks like. These are very easy to hurt yourself with, so you've got to be very careful. I usually just very gently come around, and then I'll, with great intention, pull through. I'm just trying to bevel the inside edge right now a little more than it already is. Alright, and then we're going to gently go after the outside. I probably should have done the outside first, arguably, because it's making this a lot harder to dig into than I thought it would be. So, not going to be our cleanest build to date. And if anyone's curious, what I'm doing here is I'm holding the deburr whip and I'm just using it perpendicular to the plastic just to gently scrape any burrs that exist off. It's another way of deburring. It doesn't dig in as much, it just kind of gently dulls everything. I also want to make sure the plastic isn't super sharp because of the way it all got beveled. We can also do this in the opposite direction we've been doing it. That helps reduce dig in. All right, so let's get back into the basement out of this oppressive heat and keep working. All right, gang, so we're back and fresh off the printer. These are our nose cone components. This does have a spot for an eye bolt and a nut to slide it all the way to the center and that eye bolt to be retained with. I'm not going to mess with that right now. It's an easy enough add. What we're focusing on is really how to mount this ring inside the nose cone. So this ring actually has a top and a bottom. Right here you can see I didn't make the thread go all the way out, so it actually won't thread in from the top side, only threads in from the bottom side. Makes it keyed. If you put it in backwards, it'll be pretty noticeable. Alright, we're gonna need a vacuum on that, but that should, and it does, just slide right on in. And I mean, it's a tight fit in there. So a little bit of epoxy will go a long way with this design in the end. And oh my goodness, we're gonna clean this up real quick. God. Dang, that is a mess. All right, sorry about that, guys. Real quick cleanup, since the nose cone apparently decides it wants to keep dumping on me. So one important thing to check real quick, and I'm going to use my body tube as a check, is to see how well this fits with that printed part in there, which for me this actually fits like perfectly with that in there right now. So this isn't deforming it as much as the other one that my father-in-law got is being deformed and will have to be modified down. And then we can test that in there. It does not feel like it overextends on any one side, but we can check real quick. And yep, that goes in there with relative ease. It might need a little bit of sanding down, but that's just a nice thing to see. You always want to check to make sure it's going to fit in there just fine if you're installing something like this on your nose cone, because you may need to sand down these parts since we're actually stretching everything just a little bit. So what we're actually going to do is go ahead and try and mount 2 screws into the side of this for retention. And these screws are like way too long, so I'm going to see if I can find something a little bit shorter real quick in my collection of really weird screws that I've got. I've got some 256s that I could cut down real quick that I think I'd rather use than the 172s. The 172s are just so freaking small. And I'm gonna find a drill bit that I want to use for a 256, which I think is going to be a 16th inch. It is going to be a 16th inch drill bit. Gonna go ahead and do that. Go ahead and grab what I should have grabbed earlier. And I'm actually just coming basically dead center in the back here. And we just broke through, which is perfect. That's what we wanted. Get my little screwdriver set out. And we're just gonna test fit this pretty much by coming up here. I could get like a 256 tap and tap it in. But usually with plastic, I don't like to run taps through things. I find the tap usually destroys stuff. Putting this one in. I just want to see how it fits, how it sits. Is it coming out the other side yet? No, it's not. Like, another question, as I already took it away, how much interference do we get on my build here? And I get quite a bit. So that answers that. I will need to try and gently countersink this. And the way I'm actually going to do that is maybe a little unorthodox, but I just dropped the 256. Yeah, there it is. Thank God, that was close. So my preferred way of countersinking is to go ahead and find something that's really close in diameter to the head of your screw for a drill bit, and then just take the drill by hand and kind of just gently go after the because I don't really want it to bite heavily, because if it heavily bites, it won't do what I want. All I want is a gentle countersink there for the screw to be able to sit into, to get the head just a little bit lower. And if I use it in a drill, it'll dig in way too much. Just way too much. So let's go ahead and see if that gets me low enough here. And if I cut this thing short enough, it's not interfere inside. Ooh, I'm like right on the edge. Alright, I haven't pushed out into the threaded area yet. So we've got that screw just in there. As you guys can see, I just gently countersunk it, and it's got a tight fit, so we might want to loosen it up just a little bit more. By the time we get that third ring on there, everything tightens up a little more than what I like to see. Let's go ahead and try and get you guys a little closer to what we're doing. So, as you can see, that screw is sitting pretty flush. On the inside, oh boy, that is hard to see. It does not actually poke through at all, which is exactly what we want. I wish that was a lot easier to see than it is, but it's not. So what we're gonna do is gonna put two of these in here. So I put one on this side. I wanna put the other one on the dead other side. So we're gonna come in here roughly. I'm gonna drill straight through. Since I already know roughly what I'm doing, we're gonna take my drill bit, which this is a 9/16. Ooh, is it a 9/16? 9/64, and I drilled my original hole with a 1/16 inch bit. And all we're doing is just by hand coming in there and getting a gentle countersink formed. I don't want to dig in too much. I just want to get a nice little countersink going somewhere the screw head can just gently seat into. So we're not going for a whole lot here. Again, we're going to need to cut down our screw. So we're taking a 256 by 1/2 inch long screw. I'm going to stick it in here about where I cut off the last one at a good length. And my hand gently around this will keep this from flying as far. Usually I end up just catching that, which is exactly what I did this time and exactly what I wanted to do. When I release, I get out these teeny tiny little 256 that I can barely keep track of. It is sub 1/4 inch or right at 1/4 inch length. It should be this point. I think it's actually under. just based on the fact that it looks like I threw away over half. I'm using 2 fingers to gently align it in the hole, and then we're just going to gently thread it down in. Again, I'm not tapping because I like letting the threads of the screw do all the tapping for me. It results in a little bit stronger hold, in my opinion, on plastic. I've done this enough times now with projects to learn what does and doesn't hold well. I am going back in on the inside here real quick with my screwdriver to like run through the threads and make sure the area I'm entering is not going to be inhibited. I also know it's not going to be because my threads don't go up that far. But if I were to ever thread anything further up in this, because I can now swap this bottom end out for anything else that would thread in here. I could even look at threading something in here to put a weight further up in here. It doesn't thread in as far. So that's exactly what we wanted to see happen, and I'm really glad that worked out. Now, if we clean up just a little bit, not a whole bunch, just a little bit. Gotta leave some of the tools out for the next project. We can do a quick test fit in our body tube and see that as I go in, this is already a pretty decently tight fit. Gets a little tighter there. I think I was actually going in the other end. I'd chosen the looser of the 2 ends to work with. Yep, this end's a little looser, as long as I can keep it aligned. And so it gets a little tight in there, so I'll need to do a little bit of sanding or filing down. And I can look inside the body tube for scratching, and yeah, it looks like the screw is scratching just a little bit. I'm not sure on which one though. I can do a quick double check. It looks like kind of both are doing just a little bit. So the easiest way to take care of that is take your file and just and so we're just gently rounding over the head. Try and take down some of that. And now that should let this enter a lot more easily. So when we do our test, yeah, it sticks a lot less. There's also a little bit of stick, more than I like, up here. So I'll want to do it a little bit more, but that's how we're going to take it down and get it to fit the way we want. I'll keep doing that, but for the purposes of this video, that is exactly what we were looking to do. Now, I am going to make these files available on printables. So you'll be able to download, for pretty much the first time ever, one of my nose cone electronics bays. I'm calling this the plastic nose cone, like 3D printed eBay. Because it's meant to be a modification for plastic nose cones you can buy off the shelf. It works perfectly with the nose cones provided by Lock/Public Missiles, so these go in there really well. Occasionally there is required a little bit of like rework. As you can see, like this side sits really low, but like around the rest of it, it sits pretty much like spot on. So I had to make this a little bit smaller than the actual diameter of the shoulder here, that way it would fit. But this will be available on printables. I'm also going to make it available on my website for anyone to purchase if you want to. This will be one of the first few items I ever do that with, where I'm posting it both available online for download and for purchase. So you can take a look at that. On another note, this next weekend will be Airfest. Airfest is September 1st through 4th. That is Friday through Monday. We will be out there the entire weekend. If you are looking for us, we will be in these purple shirts with IPL on the front. I've mentioned them in a previous video. And on the back there, it says Print, Fly, Repeat, Inverted Pursuits Lab. That is our little tagline, because that's what we do, is we print, we fly it, and then we do it again. We don't always reprint it, but sometimes we have to reprint. But we'll be out there the entire weekend. We'll have a vendor booth with all sorts of products available for you guys to come and look at, purchase. We'd love to chat with you. I will also have Project Praetor and Festus out there for viewing. Praetor is my level 3, and Festus is the prototype that I built before building Praetor for my level 3 to prove the technology would work that I wanted to do. So if you want to come see those, it will be very hard to miss. Praetor will be a 9.5 foot tall purple rocket standing upright out there, and Festus will be the shorter little brother standing at about 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in that range, and is gold. So both are very hard to miss, and we'll be out there, and you can come take a look at those rockets, chat with us. We'd love to hear from you. So we'll see you all out at the pasture for Airfest 29.